What's up guys, Artem MMA Analysis here, gonna be doing my full card breakdown and predictions for UFC 277, Pena versus Nunes 2, and to be fair, I am very hyped for this card, not gonna lie. I feel like maybe a little bit more hyped than most people are, and I think understandably so. You know, you've got the New Zealander, the Kiwi, Kai Kara France fighting for a world title this weekend as well, and you got a couple of my other favourite fighters to watch. Matt Semmelsberger's on the card, I do really like watching him, and there's some really good prospects and a lot of interesting fighters. You got Hamdi Abdalhab making his debut, you've got Ehorpateria making his debut, and at the bottom you've got City Kickboxing's Blood Diamond. But yeah, as always, I don't really want to waste too much time. This is my prediction video of the week. Cannot wait to make my Dana White's Contender Series Week 2 video tomorrow. As always, if you haven't subscribed yet, feel free to, man. I just recently hit 2,000 subscribers, so I'm so excited for that going forward. I did say that I was going to start a podcast at 2,000 subscribers, so I'm going to do that. I'm probably going to start setting that up probably sometime next week. I'll get my guy that makes my thumbnails and stuff to make up something super professional. I'll sort out something out with Spotify and Apple Podcasts and all that. I'll get it all sorted, and I'll get something super official for you guys. But as always, man, thank you guys so much for watching this super long intro. Let's just get straight into the predictions. Let's not waste too much more time. As we move on to the first fight of the night, I was talking about how I'm very excited to see Blood Diamond fight, and I am very excited to see Blood Diamond fight, and he's taking on Orion Kosuke. The pick is Orion Kosuke here, but to talk about Blood Diamond, you know, he's coming out of City Kickboxing, he's one of Israel Adesanya's boys. But the problem is, man, he's a 34-year-old prospect with only 4 MMA fights in his career. And it's a big problem that I think a lot of the City Kickboxing guys have actually have kind of got. You know, like, these guys are coming into MMA after having a full career in kickboxing themselves. So they've already had a professional sporting career beforehand, and then they're moving into MMA. So obviously by the time they start MMA, they're a bit older. Like Blood Diamond's 34 years old, just starting to get into MMA, trying to do his thing in the UFC, you know what I mean? And Orion Kosuke's a young 28-year-old guy. I'm sure he would have made a lot of improvements since he last fought against Philip Rowe. He doesn't really have the greatest gas tank in the world, which is a big problem potentially here, because I do believe Blood Diamond, you know, as I said, he's had a full kickboxing career. He's going to have a good gas tank. He's going to have good words missed me. He's going to have good conditioning and commitment and stuff. But anyway, I'm picking Orion Kosuke. I do like what he does. You know, I think he's a well-rounded fighter. I think he is going to end up taking Blood Diamond down to the mat. All City Kickboxing guys do have amazing defensive grappling. Unfortunately, we didn't really get to see that in Blood Diamond's last fight against Jeremiah Wells, where Jeremiah Wells kind of like tripped over like at the edge of the cage, and then Blood Diamond, I think he's just like a bit confused. Like, this is his first MMA, so UFC fight. And it's like, what's going on? Like, and then yeah, he's on the mat and he's defending submissions and he gets choked out. But I don't know if Orion Kosuke does the same sort of thing. I think he drags Blood Diamonds to the mat a few times, I'd say, in the fight. I think he definitely gets a few takedowns, lands a bit of ground and pound. Rooting for Blood Diamond, I do kind of want him to win, but I've got to pick Orion Kosuke in this one here. Orion Kosuke, you know what I mean? Like, the Kosuke brothers, both of them, they're probably not the hottest prospects in the world, to be brutally honest here. Like, the wins that he's got on his career just aren't super awesome, you know what I mean? Like, he's fought a lot of guys with losing records, but he has fought a couple of good guys with decent records. Like, Matt Dixon's a pretty good win on a Contender Series. I'm not too sure what he's gone and done since then. He hasn't even fought since then at all, actually. So maybe Matt Dixon's dreams were crushed by Kosuke, jeez. But no, man, I think he's going to take down Blood Diamond. I think he's going to get a bit of ground and pound and kind of work his game like that. I think if it's on the feet, I think Blood Diamond's clearly going to have an advantage. He does have a pretty awkward striking style that I don't know if Orion Kosuke can really deal with, but Orion Kosuke, you know, he last fought 11 months ago. That's a long time to recover from the Philip Rowe fight and then also make improvements. As a 28-year-old, I do believe we see Kosuke come out, make improvements, and I think he's going to take Blood Diamond down, wrestle him a little bit, and take him to his game, and then beat Blood Diamond, probably by TKO. I'm going to pick second round. I know Orion Kosuke lost and by KO in the second round of his debut, but I'm going to pick him to win in that way in the second, by ground and pound as well, by the way. Ground and pound TKO, maybe even a submission, but Orion Kosuke to wrestle and use his grappling to win the fight. And the next one, we've got Nagumariano versus Ehorpateria, and this is a fight I will admit that I have struggled with all week. I've really been looking into this fight, I've really been diving into it. I kind of brought it up in my early predictions, The pick is Nick Nagumariano, and he is an underdog. But if you're picking Ehorpateria, you're really gambling on this guy. Like you're really gambling on him, and the way that I say that is we just don't know how good he is. We truthfully don't. You know, you watch this fight on Dana White's Contender Series, and that's really the only way you can get a good grasp on this guy, because the level of competition that he's fought throughout his career is not comparable to the level that Nick Nagumariano is, or the UFC fighters are in general. And what I mean by that is, if you look at Ehorpateria's record here, he's 20-2. He's on a crazy win streak, but in 2020, he fought a guy that was 0-2. 0-4, 0-3, 0-0. This is 2019 now, and in 2018 split decision win over a guy that's 17-18. And there's footage out there where he has been taken down to the ground and held there. And Nagumariano does have wrestling in his back pocket. I think he is going to look to use it here. And even then, like, his best win is over Lucas Sadowski. Lucas Sadowski is a very, very good fighter, and he's a slow starter. But I watched that fight, and Lucas Sadowski did not start slow. Which is very interesting. But Ehorpateria striking, if I'm really going to describe it, or even his fight style in general, is he's just a wild striker. Like, he doesn't really have super great technique. Neither does Nick Nagumariano. Both of these guys are wild strikers. Ehorpateria is throwing a lot of hooks. He's throwing a lot of overhands. He's not really throwing technique. He's just throwing a lot of power. And when he does land the power, then he kind of closes up and he likes to initiate clinch control, and then I don't know, man. It's an interesting style. It's definitely something that could work. He definitely could catch the chin off Nick and potentially get a KO. But Nagumariano's taken a lot of big shots in his career. He has proven that he can deal with some adversity, like he did with Kennedy Nzechukwu. You know, he's eaten a lot of shots. He ate quite a few shots against Alexa Kamer as well, you know, but like the level of competition that he fought before the UFC was terrible as well, which is worth noting. But what I'm really trying to say here is, if you're picking Ehorpateria, you're gambling on someone that we don't really know how he's going to look. You know, like Nick Nagumariano, we've seen him in the UFC 4 times. We've seen him on a 3-fight win streak inside the UFC. You know what I mean? I feel like maybe the UFC probably wants Ehorpateria to win because he's got such an exciting style. He's a pretty cool guy. You know what I mean? He's got a fun, wild striking, and maybe he could land something on Nick. But I'm picking Nick because I just can't trust Ehor here. I think Nick is going to look to initiate some grappling sequences, use the wrestling which he does have in his back pocket, and wrestle Ehorpateria, put him on his back, and just kind of keep him there. I think maybe Nick wins a decision. I think he's only got one decision win on his entire career, but call me crazy, I'm going to pick him to win a decision here in this one here. I think he does take Pateria down, keeps him on the ground, uses the wrestling, and just wins a decision over Ehorpateria here, who is coming in as a somewhat hyped up prospect from Dana White's Contender Series. So we'll see what happens there. It's a cool fight. I like it. If Pateria wins, then we know more about him, because that's the thing, we don't really know anything about this guy. You know, 2 years ago he fought a guy that was 0-4, 0-2. I don't know, man. I just don't really understand how I'm meant to really trust that too much. All you can really base off Ehorpateria is his Lucas Sadowski fight, and that only lasted 4 minutes. We'll see. I'm picking Nick Nagumariano. He's more proven to me. I've seen him in the UFC multiple times, obviously. He's fought 4 times there. He's on a 3-fight win streak in the UFC over not the greatest competition in the world, but over good competition. The win over Kennedy Nzechukwu has aged very well. Give me Nagumariano. I'm picking decision. I do think he's going to take Ehorpateria down and kind of just keep him there for 3 rounds. I genuinely do feel like that's a good path to victory for him, and I think that is what he's going to do, because he does have wrestling in that back pocket if he needs to use it. If we move up the card, we've got a short notice replacement in Jocelyn Edwards taking on Jiyon Kim. Jiyon Kim, I believe, was meant to fight someone else, and Jocelyn Edwards has stepped in to save the day. And one thing that is very interesting to note is Tapology has updated this fight to be at bantamweight. A few days ago when I was making my recordings, I believe this fight was listed to be at flyweight, which is Jiyon Kim's more natural weight class, but Jocelyn Edwards and her team have obviously probably said to Jiyon Kim's team or to the UFC or whoever's matchmaking this and just saying, hey, we're just not going to be able to make 125 on short notice or whatever. And the fight's now been moved to 135, which is Jocelyn Edwards' more natural weight class in a way. She's going to be a lot bigger than Jiyon Kim, in my opinion. And it's almost made me pick Edwards, but I'm still picking Jiyon Kim as the underdog. I feel like Jiyon Kim is just a very underrated fighter. You know, like she's very good. She throws with a lot of volume. Jocelyn Edwards has thrown a lot of volume in her last 2 fights, but prior to that, she has been a very low volume striker. She is somewhat longer than Jiyon Kim. Like, she's only a little bit taller, but she does have long legs, and she does like to use her kickboxing and keep the fight at kicking range and keep her opponents away, which is kind of what Jiyon Kim does, except with her ridiculously long 72-inch reach at 5'7", which is pretty crazy. She does like to box. She doesn't mind being in boxing range either, and Jocelyn Edwards doesn't really like being in boxing range. I think Jiyon Kim is going to close the distance and just throw and land more volume on Jocelyn Edwards over 3 rounds. That's why I'm picking Jiyon Kim. Sorry, I think that Jiyon Kim is just going to throw more volume. I think she's going to land more volume as well. And I think that the judges are just going to see the aggression from Jiyon Kim play a part in the decision, which is controversial in a way, I would say, because I would say Jiyon Kim was the more aggressive fighter against Priscilla Cachoeira, and for some reason the judges didn't give her the fight, even though Jiyon Kim outlanded her by about 70 significant strikes, which is crazy. But yeah, I think that Jiyon Kim's going to be more aggressive. I think she's going to throw more volume. I think she's just going to land more, do more damage over the course of 3 rounds, and she'll win a decision over Jocelyn Edwards. Jocelyn Edwards' path to victory as well, in my opinion, is to keep the fight on the feet. Both of these girls I don't think are going to look to grapple. I personally would be quite surprised if we do see some grappling exchanges in this fight here, but Jocelyn Edwards is the bigger girl. Maybe she could look to use some clinch control and stuff like that, because for some reason it does seem to be scored more in women's MMA. It genuinely does seem to be scored more. But Jocelyn Edwards keep the fight at range, use the kicks. I think Jiyon Kim is gonna try and use the hands and close the distance. So give me Jiyon Kim to win a decision here. Underdog pick in my opinion. Oh, obviously is an underdog pick, but yeah, that's my opinion, man. I do think Kim wins the fight, so we'll see. Alright, now we've got Michael Morales taking on Adam Fugat, and I'm pretty hyped for this fight, man. Mainly because I get to see Michael Morales fight again. Michael Morales is a very good fighter. He's 23 years old, but I believe he's like a former Ecuadorian wrestling champion and also a former Ecuadorian Muay Thai champion. Something along those lines anyway. Like, this guy's definitely got some sort of credentials outside of MMA, and it's really showing. You know, I picked him as an underdog to beat Nikolai Veretennikov, and he did beat Nikolai Veretennikov there, and I picked against him. I picked Trevin Giles to beat him, and he beat Trevin Giles, which is cool. Like, that's a really good win in my opinion. You know, you fight at 170, you introduced Trevin Giles. I think that's Trevin Giles' first fight at 170 in the UFC, and you knocked him out, man. Awesome stuff. But speaking of knockouts, Adam Fugat got a knockout over, in my opinion, a UFC level opponent in Solomon Renfro in the first round. He started out pretty crazy, threw a lot of head kicks in a row. He does like his kicks, body kicks and head kicks. He really likes those, but he ended up knocking out Solomon Renfro in the first round, and that's a really good win in my opinion, because Solomon Renfro truly is UFC level in my opinion. You know, I do rate that win very highly here. Adam Fugat only accepted the fight a few days ago, so this is like a 1 week and a half notice fight. Very short notice fight for Fugat. Michael Morales was meant to be taking on Ramiz Brahimaj, who was a grappler and more of like a submission guy, but I think Michael Morales would have easily beaten Ramiz Brahimaj, in my opinion, kept the fight on the feet, defended the takedowns, and just knocked him out. I think he's going to do the same to Adam Fugat. I don't know if Adam Fugat's going to look to grapple. I feel like maybe he should, because Michael Morales is so scary on the feet, but I think Adam Fugat does definitely have a path to victory here, but just on a short notice, I just don't really know how I feel about that. I think Michael Morales is going to be a very hyped up prospect after this fight here. He's going to be 13-0, 14-0. I think if the UFC looks after this guy and keeps his record clean and gives him good competition that he can beat, you know, Michael Morales really could be a 16-0, 17-0 prospect. You know, at 23 years old, I think this guy's got a very high ceiling if he keeps improving. Michael Morales by KO was the pick. I'm picking him to win in the first or second round. I don't think that the fight goes the distance for sure either way, but I do believe Michael Morales should be able to beat Adam Fugat, especially on short notice as well. I think he's the better fighter. He's very well rounded as well. He's got great pop in the hands. He's got power. Give me Michael Morales to win this one here. I do believe he is a very special prospect and someone to look out for in the future. And we move on to Drakkar Klose versus Rafael Garcia, another fight that I've kind of been scratching my head at a little bit, thinking that Rafael Garcia could be the underdog pick of the week. He could be my Kai Kara France versus Askarov pick of the week, but he's not. I'm picking Drakkar Klose to win this one here. Drakkar Klose, you know, He came in as a -600, a -700 or so favourite over Brandon Jenkins in his return after some controversial stuff going on. Like, he did get knocked out by Beneil Dariush, and then he had a lot of problems coming back into the UFC. Like, Jeremy Stevens pushed him at the weigh-ins and this and that. But Drakkar Klose is a good fighter, you know. He looked good in there. I think that the quote-unquote ring rust is gone now that he fought only 3 months ago. Very quick turnaround, and Rafa Garcia is taking on the fight on short notice as well. I wanted to pick Rafa Garcia, but in my opinion, Rafa Garcia is a pretty basic fighter. He's a boxer-wrestler, and that's kind of what he does. He boxes and he wrestles. And his 2 wins in the UFC are over Jesse Ronson, who's an older guy. He's not on PEDs anymore, so he's not got the power to knock out Nicholas Dalby in one punch anymore, or just hurt Nicholas Dalby. I can't actually remember how that fight ended now that I think about it, but the point is, he beat Natan Levy in a competitive decision as well. Like, it's just, I don't know, man. And then he's lost to Nasrat Hakras, who's good. He lost to Kritz Grushamaka, which is not a good loss, in my opinion, to have on your record either. Like, I think Drakkar Klose is just good, man. Drakkar Klose was hurting Beneil Dariush at points in that fight, and Beneil Dariush has gone on to be a top 5 fighter. Maybe if Drakkar Klose beats Rafa Garcia, he's probably going to call out Mark Madsen again. Maybe even calls out Paddy Pimblett. I think that would probably be a smart name to at least call out, because it will get you headlines in a way. But I think he's going to call out Mark Madsen, and I think they'll probably do that, Drakkar Klose versus Mark Madsen, after Drakkar Klose beats Rafa Garcia. But I'm getting sidetracked. I'm not really talking about the fight. I just think that Rafa Garcia is too basic of a fighter for a guy like Drakkar Klose to not figure out, especially on short notice as well. I think that Drakkar Klose should win this fight here. He's had a full training camp. I can't actually remember who the original matchup was, but it was a more competitive one than this one. It was against Diego Ferreira. Oh my god, okay, well, this is a step down in competition big time. Yeah, okay, give me Drakkar Klose. You know, he's been preparing for a very good opponent in Diego Ferreira. He's taking on Rafa Garcia and said, I'm going to pick Klose. He didn't look, in my opinion, he didn't look super amazing. I know he was beating the crap out of Brandon Jenkins, but in my opinion, he didn't look like super great against Brandon Jenkins. Like, he really should have finished him in the first round, and he just wasn't able to. So, I don't know, man. Give me Drakkar Klose in the decision. I think the fight goes the distance. I think Rafa Garcia is just going to be a bit of a step behind. But if Rafa Garcia wins this one on short notice, that's a really good feather to have in his cap. But give me Drakkar Klose to win. Give me Drakkar Klose to win a decision over Rafa Garcia. And now we move on to Donttale Mayes versus Hamdi Abdalhab, and I'm picking Donttale Mayes. I really wanted to pick Hamdi Abdalhab, but I just can't do it, guys, man. Like, there's just red flags. I mean, the thing is, what's so crazy is I said in my early predictions, I was like, guys, I'm gonna give you a little fact that maybe not everyone knows, and that is that Hamdi Abdalhab was in the Olympics in 2016. Turns out literally everyone knows that, so that was not a good fact at all to share. I'm sorry. But let's just talk about Hamdi Abdalhab for a little bit here. He's 6'2", he's got a 73-inch reach, which is shorter, and a shorter reach than Donttale Mayes, but that's not really the point. The point is, he's got that wrestling, but he doesn't really use it. And I think it's this win over Tyler... No, it's the first win over Matthew Strickland, where Matthew Strickland shoots a takedown. Is the fight of the last 15 minutes, but this footage has been circulating Twitter. Matthew Strickland shoots a takedown and gets it. Like, on Hamdi Abdalhab, the Egyptian wrestler, and Matthew Strickland, there's a photo of Matthew Strickland circulating on Twitter. He's like a 39-year-old guy. He's clearly not really training MMA, like, at all. Yeah, and it's just, like, terrible. It's just terrible. It really is. No, I think it's this Icon FC win over Matthew Strickland where he shoots a takedown and gets it. But that's not even the point. That's not the point. The point is, like, the level of competition this guy is fighting is just so questionable, you know what I mean? Like, he beat Matthew Strickland twice, who's 0-2 in MMA now, I believe. I think he fought after he fought Hamdi Abdalhab. Or even maybe the only time he's ever fought was to fight Hamdi. Yeah, the only times this guy has ever fought in professional MMA was to fight Hamdi Abdalhab. Like this guy's record is 3-0, but it's questionable. Like, he beat this guy Tyler Lee 3-2 in 24 seconds. Like, Dustin Clements, he was 4-4. It went to the end of the third round. Like, Donttale Mayes is better than these guys. Donttale Mayes is is beating Josh Parisian, who is a bottom feeder at the UFC, but he's still 14-4. Roque Martinez, bottom feeder of the UFC division, but still he's 15-6, and he made his debut against Cyril Gane, you know, a title challenger. I do believe he won the 5th round against Ngannou, and I can't believe that's a controversial opinion, but that's crazy to me. But and he fought Rodrigo Nascimento, who was undefeated at the time, and he's got a win over Mitchell Sipe, who was on the Ultimate Fighter season 30, and just like. And he's got a win over Muhammad Usman as well. I mean, I know that doesn't hold any weight whatsoever because Usman isn't great, but like, oh my god, like I can't pick Hamdi Abdalhab, man. Like, I've got to pick Maze. I really do. He's 6'6", he's 81 inches of reach. He's a pretty good striker. He's powerful. He's got wrestling if he needs it. It's probably not to the level or the technique or whatever of Hamdi's wrestling. I mean, an Olympic wrestler, you know, you don't get to the Olympics by being not that great. You know what I mean? But I don't know, man. If Hamdi wins, maybe I'll jump on his hype train. I really wanted to be the conductor of the Hamdi Abdalhab hype train, but you really can't. I can't trust him. I've got to fade him. I really just can't trust Hamdi Abdalhab here. You know, all I've seen from him is just him fighting against low-level competition, not you really utilizing his wrestling even in the videos that I've seen, and then throwing boxing combinations that just land over these low level guys and is winning and KOing them. Like, it's just, I think Dana White's Contender Series would have been a much better fit for Hamdi here, just to see what level he really is. I just can't trust him. I'm picking Maze. I'm actually picking Maze to KO him as well. I think Hamdi's probably going to gas after the first round. I think if Maze survives the first, he's going to pick it up and win after that. So I think the fight does leave the first round and Maze just wins by TKO over a gassed Hamdi in like the second or third round. Like, I don't know, man. I just can't trust this guy. I really can't. So yeah, give me Maze. Give me Maze to win this one. Weird fight, really weird fight. So strange, but yeah, let's move on. And we move on to Drew Dober versus Rafael Alves, and Rafael Alves is good, man. Like, he's got some really good wins on his record. I was looking through his record earlier today, and man, this guy has beaten some top guys. You know, he beat a guy that's in the PFL right now, Alejandro Flores, on his Dana White's Contender Series fight and finished him. But before that as well, you know, he's beating guys that are 17-4, 14-2, 16-5. You know, like good levels of competition. He's even got some good wins earlier on in his career as well, over pretty good competition. Like, he's got a 9-4 win in 2015, a 9-2 win in 2016, and he's just been fighting good guys. You know what I mean? Before the UFC, and he submitted Mark Diakase by guillotine in Mark Diakase's return very recently, and about 7 months ago. But Drew Dober, man, I just can't pick against him in this one here. I've seen a lot of people picking Rafael Alves as the underdog though, and I do respect that fight, that pick. I mean, I think it's a really good pick in a way, but I think Drew Dober, you know, I think on the feet, Drew Dober's got him, you know, and even then, like, Drew Dober does have pretty good wrestling as well. I think he's got good enough wrestling awareness to not get submitted by guillotine in the first round, like Mark Diakase did as well. Like, I think Drew Dober gets it. I think Drew Dober's got it, you know. I don't really have too much to say. I don't really have like a full-on breakdown here. I think if the fight hits the mat, Rafael Alves has got some pretty good jiu-jitsu. He's got a lot of good guillotine chokes. I think he's got quite a few guillotine choke wins in his career, but the pick is Drew Dober, and I just don't really have too much more to say. Like, the guys that Drew Dober's lost to recently are Brad Riddell by decision. You know, Brad Riddell beat him up pretty bad in that fight, but he dealt a lot of damage to Brad Riddell himself. Islam Makhachev took him to the third round. Like, he went to the third round of Islam Makhachev. He's got pretty good defensive grappling if Islam Makhachev's taking the third round. He beat Alexander Hernandez, who's good. Not as good as we thought he was, but he's good. And he beat Nasrat Haqparast, who's pretty good as well. He's on a little bit of a downward slide, but I think he's going to come back. I think Nasrat Haqparast is a pretty good prospect, you know what I mean? So, give me Drew Dober. I do think that if he gets the KO, maybe Alves is able to lock up some sort of submission on bottom if Dober ends up on top. Or even Alves ends up on top and locks up a submission from there. But I'm just picking Dober. I just think Dober wins. I don't think Alves is able to knock him out. The guy's got a granite chin. He come back, beat up Terrence McKinney after getting dropped or like almost knocked out pretty much. But yeah, give me Dober. That's all I really have to say about this fight. Sorry, guys. And in another fight that I'm really excited to watch, we've got Alex Moreno versus Matt Semmelsberger. This is the featured prelim for a reason, man. And it's a big opportunity for both guys to make a name for themselves. I feel like Alex Moreno has been given a few opportunities himself in his career to make a big name. Like when he fought Anthony Pettis, he did drop the bag on that one there. He lost the decision, but he came back, took a short notice replacement fight against Donttale in the co-main event of a fight night, and he did finish him in the first round. Which is cool, but it didn't really like make him a star. He didn't really get too much like quote unquote clout off that. He beat David Zawada in a very impressive showing. He beat Mickey Gall in a very impressive showing as well. And now he's fighting Matt Semmelsberger, and Matt Semmelsberger, man, he's great. I think he's awesome. I think he's a great fighter. He recently beat AJ Fletcher. AJ Fletcher by decision, and AJ Fletcher and his family absolutely hates me for some reason, but hi guys, I know you might be watching this, I don't know, but you definitely watched my video about AJ Fletcher versus Matt Semmelsberger, that's for sure. And I picked Matt Semmelsberger to win that one, and AJ Fletcher and his team were just not happy about that, man. But hey, it is what it is. It is what it is. I'm picking AJ Fletcher to win his next fight, so maybe I can get one back. But hey, he's picking he beat Martin Sano, he beat War Sano in 15 seconds. Yes, what a win. Anyway, like he beat Jason Witt by knockout in the 16 seconds. Like he's got KO power in the hands, man. But for the most part, he is winning longer fights. He's got 6 wins by KO, 3 by decision. I don't think he's gonna knock out Alex Moreno in 20 seconds. I'd be surprised if he did, and I'd be very impressed if he did. But I don't think that's gonna happen. The point is that I'm picking Matt Semmelsberger. I think he's gonna win, but these lines are quite wide. I think Alex Moreno is potentially one of the more live underdogs on the entire card, because he's a very good fighter. And I think he's potentially more well-rounded than Matt Semmelsberger in ways, but I think on the feet, when the fight's hit striking, I think Matt Semmelsberger is going to find success at range. He's got a little bit of a slight range advantage. He's slightly taller as well, which I think is going to help him here. When it's on the feet, I think Matt Semmelsberger should kind of just outpoint Morono, land the more powerful shots, and win that way, but don't sleep on Morono's ability, man. Matt Semmelsberger by decision is my pick, but he's definitely got... Well, he's just proven to be more powerful than Morono in his career. So we'll see what happens there. Give me Matt Semmelsberger by decision in this fight here. I think he does get it done. I think he just lands more damage. He lands more shots, and yeah, I think Alex Morono. Maybe Alex Morono can win a decision. He can use a well-rounded game, which is what he would need to beat Semmelsberger, in my opinion. But I think Semmelsberger wins the fight, keeps the fight on the feet, and wins like that way, in my opinion. I really feel that way about the fight. So let's move on to the main card. I'm hyped for the main card, man. It's not really like a $75 pay-per-view main card, but it's a good main card. It's a good main card. And now on the main card, we've got the opening fight of the main card, Magomed Ankalaev versus Anthony Smith. And we've got Ankalaev sitting at a -500 favorite, which is crazy, man. Which is also kind of, I feel like it might be justified. I don't think that Ankalaev is going to struggle too much in this fight. But as I said in my early preview predictions, I just don't think it's going to be that exciting. He's a very slow, methodical fighter. He doesn't really rush things. He's got power in the hands. He's a very powerful guy, and he can knock out a lot of guys out. He probably could knock Anthony Smith out if he let the hands fly. But he just doesn't. Like, he's just a very slow, methodical fighter. He'll outpoint you and win a decision, and that's kind of just what he's done. Like, he was pretty aggressive against Ion Cutelaba, and that was a very controversial finish, very, very weird one anyway. But then he knocked him out in the first round anyway, and then he beat Nikita Krylov by decision, and then he beat Jochen Oosthuizen by decision, and then recently he fought Thiago Santos, and just fought a very slow pace, methodical. It wasn't that exciting. I don't think anyone liked that main event, and now he's fighting Anthony Smith. I'm expecting them to do the same thing. I just personally don't think that Anthony Smith is gonna give Magomed Ankalaev problems in this fight. I just don't see it. Who was Anthony Smith beating his 3-fight win streak to be ranked so highly? Devin Clark, Jimmy Crute. I mean, Jimmy Crute's a pretty good win, but it was a league injury win. And then Ryan Spann. Like, Ryan Spann's okay, but like, it's Ryan Spann still at the same time. Like, just... Oh, I don't know, man. I just don't know. Of course, Chrome decides to crash. Okay, now it's back. But I'm picking Ankalaev decision. I don't know if the -500 price tag is worth it. I think he's going to look like a -500 favorite in there. I just don't see Anthony Smith bringing him problems that Ankalaev is not able to deal with. Is really what it comes down to. I think the fight stays on the feet. Ankalaev wins a decision on the feet, and yeah, don't know why this is opening the main card, but it is. So yeah, of course Chrome decides to crash, but anyway, we'll move on. We'll move on. We move up the card to Alejandro Pantoja versus Alex Perez, and in a parallel universe, Alejandro Pantoja is fighting for a title at this point of his career, but unfortunately for him, it just hasn't really ended up like that. He's taking on Alex Perez, Alex Perez has had so many cancelled fights since his last fight against Deiveson Figueiredo. Like, it's actually crazy to me how many cancelled fights this guy has had. Yeah, he fought Figgy at the end of 2020, sorry, and he looked to return in 2021, and he had cancelled fights against Match Now and Askar Askarov, and they finally decided to just give up on that idea. And now they're putting him up against Alejandro Pantoja, but I think Alejandro Pantoja, just a more well-rounded fighter. I think he's got really good jiu-jitsu. I think if the fight gets to the mat, Alejandro Pantoja's got his number, and he's going to look for a submission win. You know, like Alex Perez, he lost to Joey Benavidez. That was about 4 years ago. Muay no by ground and pound TKO. That was on the ground, and then he got guillotined by Deiveson Figueiredo, who was the champion at the time, I believe. I'm a bit of a wounder at the moment. I'm really tired. I'm overtired from work. I'm sorry, guys, and I'm near the end of the video. I'm gonna push through it and we'll hustle. But yeah, I've really got an Alejandro Pantoja by submission on this one. I'm quite confident in him. I really like the -160 price tag. I feel like a parlay I'm seeing, or a two-piece, I guess you would call it, is Ankalaev plus Pantoja. I'm seeing that a lot go around on Instagram right now. A lot of people are parlaying those two together, and I do understand why. And yeah, the Perez, just the activity, man. He's fought 5 times in about, what, 3.5 years, and he's 30 years old. You know, I just don't really know how I feel about that. Alejandro Pantoja's fought more often than him. He's fought guys at the top, like he beat Manuel Carp. Manuel Carp popped not under USADA, but he popped under something. So Manuel Carp was probably on PEDs at that time. He beat a roided up Manuel Carp. He beat Brandon Royval recently in a great fight. Yeah, I just think he beats Alex Perez. I'm sorry, guys. I don't really know what to say. I just think he beats Alex Perez by submission. I just believe that. I don't really know what else I need to add. This is such a terrible video. I'm really sorry, but I think Pantoja wins, and I apologize for the lack of quality in that one. But it's just my pick, Alejandro Pantoja submission. And now we move on to a fight which I've got a lot more to say about. We've got Derrick Lewis versus Sergey Pavlovich, and I'm picking Sergey Pavlovich. I think he's actually flipped to the favourite, according to Tapology has anyway. At the time, I believe recording 48 hours ago, he was the underdog, but now he's the favourite, which is very interesting because if you actually look at Sergey Pavlovich's record, man, this guy has not fought super high-level guys in the UFC. So it is kind of hard to pick him against Derrick Lewis, who has fought at the top of the top, the best of the best. But he's 30 years old, you know, he made a return after about 2.5 years off. But you got to look at his wins. So he come in as a debuting fighter against Alistair Overeem, lost that fight, and then he come back, beat Marcelo Golm, not in the UFC anymore, Maurice Green, not in the UFC anymore, Shamil Abdurakhimov, still in the UFC, but no, it was not as good as he used to be, and he's about 40 years old himself. And yeah, now he's a favourite against Derrick Lewis, who recently fought Alexei Olenek, Curtis Blades, Cyril Gane for the title. You know, Chris Dalkaus is Chris Dalkaus, Taito Ivasa, like the top guys in the heavyweight division. And Sergey Pavlovich is going to be in there with Derrick Lewis, and this is a fast track to a top opponent. It really is. Like, he gets one good win a couple of months ago, and now he's in there again with Derrick Lewis on the main card of a pay-per-view, the featured fight before the co-main event and the main event, and I'm picking him to win, man. He's got a scarily long reach, 84 inches. Derrick Lewis has got that power in the hands, but he's very low volume. He's very high power, low volume puncher, and I think that Sergey Pavlovich is gonna be rangy enough. I think he's gonna be a little bit more technical than Derrick Lewis there. I think he's gonna close into Derrick Lewis's range, or keep the chin out, or let Derrick Lewis land a big shot that Derrick Lewis kind of needs to get the KO. I think Sergey Pavlovich keeps the fight kind of at range and fights his fight, in my opinion. I think Derrick Lewis fights steps back, he kind of waits for the perfect shot, but if Sergey Pavlovich never gives Derrick Lewis that opportunity to fight the perfect shot, then yeah, Lewis is just gonna not throw much volume like whatsoever. You know what I mean? So yeah, I just think Sergey Pavlovich wins the fight. I think he keeps it at distance. He uses his 84-inch reach. I think he keeps Derrick Lewis away. I think Derrick Lewis is going to be backing up on the back foot, looking for the perfect shot, not throwing much volume at all. Pavlovich is going to be throwing a lot of volume. I think Pavlovich is going to finish Derrick Lewis, who has been finished recently by Tai Tuivasa. You know, I mean, that is a pretty crazy a chin that he has shown throughout his whole career, but recently it's been cracked a little bit in a way. Like he got TKO'd by Cyril Gane later on into the fight, and then he got TKO'd by Tai Tuivasa. I think in the second round that was, but anyway, Sergey Pavlovich I think is gonna come out. I don't think he's gonna come out too aggressive, but I think he's gonna come out here. He's gonna find a KO blow on Derrick Lewis. I think in the second round is my pick here for Sergey Pavlovich to win the fight. We move on. Brandon Moreno versus Kai Kara-France, the rematch. And we've got Kai Kara-France sitting at plus 170, Brandon Moreno minus 200. And I think that's pretty fair odds. I'm picking... Oh no, do I do it? Oh, I don't know. I don't know if I do it, guys. But I'm gonna do it, man. I'm picking Kai Kara-France. I'm picking him to win. He dropped Brandon Moreno in the first round, and he had some pretty big moments in that fight. But Moreno just was better on the night. He really was. But the thing is with Kai Kara-France is just all of a sudden he's finding KOs. You know, he's never really been like a massive KO artist. Yes, he does have 12 KOs in his career, but if you actually look recently in his whole career, he hasn't really found too many of them, you know. Like, he come into the UFC, won 3 decisions in a row, beat Tyson Nam by decision, and then he beat Cody Garbrandt and Rogerio Bontorin by KO back-to-back in the first round. So he's only got, like, 2 KO wins, I think, in, 6 UFC wins? 7 UFC wins? Yeah, 7 UFC wins, he's got 2 KO wins, but he did have Askar Askarov hurt in the second round. He does hold power, big power in the hands, but he just doesn't find the KO, you know what I mean, which is interesting. But what I do like against Cody Garbrandt, when he hurt Cody Garbrandt that first time, he did not let off the gas. He did stay patient, but he didn't let off the gas, and he gets going at it, you know, and I like that, man. I do like Kai Kara-France to win this one. I like his motivation. I like the fact that he's very focused on the job at hand, and he's been in there with Brandon Moreno. You could say the same thing about Moreno. He's been in there with Kai Kara-France, but I just think Kai Kara-France is good, man. Like, I've got a massive New Zealand bias, so let's talk about Brandon Moreno here for a second. Moreno's the better boxer, in my opinion. I think he's probably the better offensive grappler. He is the better offensive grappler for sure, but Kai Kara-France is the best defensive grappler in the 125-pound division. I think he's proven that multiple times. He proved that against Askar Askarov. He proved that against Rogerio Bontorin, and he's proven that in earlier times in his UFC career as well. But I'd say most notably in those 2 fights, he's really shown that he's got a really good defensive grappling. But Brandon Moreno, better offensive grappling for sure. Maybe if he does kind of fake some takedowns or go for takedowns earlier on, it will throw Kai Kara-France's game off. But I genuinely feel like the fight is actually going to end up like this. I think Kai Kara-France is going to defend a few takedowns from Brandon Moreno, and Brandon Moreno is going to become discouraged to grapple with him, and he's just going to kind of accept a stand-up fight, which, you know, Brandon Moreno is a really good fighter. I think he's the better boxer, as I said, out of the 2, but I think that Kai Kara-France is the more comfortable kickboxer. He comes out of city kickboxing, he's more comfortable when he's on the feet. He is very you know, he doesn't mind. He likes the fight to be in the middle of the cage for sure, and he doesn't mind chasing his opponents down. But he doesn't really mind fighting backwards either. He's kind of comfortable everywhere, you know. And I like that Kai Kara-France. He's the shorter guy. He's got the shorter reach, but he knows how to use it. He knows how to get in and out. He's very fast on the feet. He's got good kicks if he needs it too. But so does Moreno. Moreno's the bigger guy. I'm not really telling you guys anything that you guys don't know, but I think I can just see Kai Kara-France winning this fight. And I think he's going to catch Moreno at some point in this fight. And I do actually think he's going to get a knockout here. Moreno's last fight against Figueiredo did show some red flags to me that I think that Kai Kara-France or someone like Kai Kara-France can actually exploit. And it's that he was getting dropped by Figueiredo, but he wasn't getting dropped off just one punch. You know, it was the end of a combination was landing for Figgy and dropping Moreno. And I just think that when Kai Kara-France throws, he does throw a lot of combinations himself, and I think he can find success on the striking. I think he can out-volume Moreno, just be a bit more aggressive. I think he's going to come out here, man. I think he's going to come out here very motivated to win, and I think I don't know. I just do think that he's gonna beat Moreno. I really do. Like, and I don't believe. To start with, I'm surprised this fight's actually happening because Moreno didn't win that fight. Didn't draw with Davison Figueiredo. Even with the point deduction, Davison Figueiredo clearly won that fight, in my opinion, because two of the judges gave Moreno the fifth round. Weird judging, man. Weird judging. But hey, man, it is what it is. I think Kai Kara France wins. I think he beats Brandon Moreno. And Brandon Moreno's good, man. He's proven to be very good. But give me Kai Kara France. Give me him by KO later into the fight. But there's a bit of New Zealand bias coming out here. Like, I picked Blood Diamond to lose. I did pick Kai Kara France to beat Askar Askarov, and that was a genuine pick. I actually genuinely believed that he was going to beat Askar Askarov, and he did. So I'm going to ride that underdog momentum, man. Give me Kai Kara France. I like him. I like him to win this fight. So I think he's going to get it. Hopefully I didn't ramble too much in that video. I feel like I gave Brandon Moreno his props. I feel like I gave him his respect, but I talked about Kai Kara France a bit because I think he's going to win. So yeah, let's move on, man. Let's move on to the next one. And now we move on to the main event, Juliana Pena versus Amanda Nunes, the rematch here, and it's going to be an interesting fight because if you watch Amanda Nunes versus Juliana Pena, the first fight, Amanda Nunes has success in the first, she drops Pena in the first, but after that it seems like almost like her cardio kind of falls off a cliff, and then she just sort of like gives up. You know, it's weird. Like, she did give up. Juliana Pena didn't even have hooks in that submission, and Nunes just tapped. She just didn't want to be there anymore, which is weird, man. It's really weird, but it kind of comes down to a bad weight cut, in my opinion. I think even Nunes' team has said that she had a bad weight cut, and I think it's just because Nunes was so used to fighting at 145. Like, if you think about it, you know, she fought Holly Holm, I believe, at 145, GDR at 145, Felicia Spencer at 145, Megan Anderson at 145. Like, she fought at 145 for at least a year and a half consistently without defending her belt at 135, and then she come down to Juliana Pena, fought Juliana Pena, and she had a 145 build, you know, and she was trying to drop down a weight class, and it just didn't quite work. And that's my opinion. Now I feel like she's committed to 135. The weight cut's not going to be an issue. And I think she is going to beat Juliana Pena. I'm picking Amanda Nunes here and then. I think Juliana Pena is such a good pick, though. I really do respect anyone doing it because I think it does make a lot of sense. You know, especially if the fight leaves the first or the second round even, and you get the fight into the third round, the fourth round, the fifth round. Juliana Pena, I think, potentially could look to take over. And Juliana Pena as well is a very well-rounded fighter. Herself, but if you look at the Ultimate Fighter season 30, in my opinion, man, like, Pena isn't really living in Nunes' head, you know. Nunes is very unfazed by this loss, and I feel like Pena's trying to capitalize on it, but Nunes just doesn't really seem to be too bothered that she lost to Pena, you know. I think that Nunes is motivated to get the fight, to get the win back, and even if she does beat Pena, like, do we get a trilogy? Do we get a third fight between the two? I mean, women's 135 is so dead right now, it might actually just make sense to do a trilogy to hold up the division because there's literally nothing going on there. Like, who do you have as title challenger up there? Like, Irene Aldana? Is she even fighting at 135 at the moment? Like, yeah, I think Nunes is going to win. I think she's going to knock out Pena. I think it's going to happen in the first or the second round. I think maybe if the fight enters the third, fourth, or the fifth round, maybe Pena is pretty live to use her wrestling, use her grappling to wear out Nunes and get a submission. But I'm picking Nunes to win. I'm trusting her, man. I think she's just a better fighter than Pena. She really is really good. I mean, that's a terrible reason to pick someone. I think they're really good, but I just think that Nunes is really good. I think she's just better than Pena. I do believe that. So yeah, give me Nunes to beat Pena in this one here in the main event. As always, keep it toasty, and I'll see you in the next one.